The choosing happened every 50 cycles, when Valkyra's twin moons aligned in crimson eclipse. I'd heard the stories since I was conscripted into the mining colony on Threshold Station, whispered tales of the Nisari Empire's most sacred ritual, where their immortal queen selected her consort from among the galaxy's finest specimens. Warriors, scholars, diplomats, even augmented super soldiers had been presented before her throne. Some were chosen, most were not. What no one mentioned was that humans were explicitly forbidden from the selection. My name is Marcus Webb, former engineer from Earth's Chicago megacity, current indentured laborer on humanity's furthest outpost. I wasn't supposed to be anywhere near the Imperial Palace when the ceremony began. I certainly wasn't supposed to catch the eye of Queen Valkyra herself. The station's viewing platforms were packed with spectators from a dozen species, all craning for a glimpse of the procession. I'd only come because my shift supervisor, Rendix, a four-armed Quillian with a gambling problem, had bet me a week's credits I wouldn't dare show my face among the real citizens. I never could resist a challenge. The palace itself seemed grown rather than built, its obsidian spires twisting toward the blood-red sky like frozen flames. As the candidate procession began, I found myself pressed against the transparent aluminum barrier, close enough to see every detail. They came in ordered pairs, each representing their homeworld. Azure-skinned the Lonians with their crystalline crests, massive Krogger warriors whose muscles rippled beneath chitinous armor, sleek Phaedran diplomats who moved like liquid silver. 72 candidates in total, the traditional number. All of them hoping to be chosen by the queen who had ruled for 3,000 years. Then she appeared. Queen Valkyra of the Nisari was nothing like the Holovids suggested. Those state broadcasts showed her as regal and distant, her pale violet skin luminous against ceremonial robes, her eyes the color of deep space. They captured her beauty but missed everything else, the predatory grace in her movements, the weight of millennia in her gaze, the hunger that played at the corners of her mouth. The Nisari weren't technically vampires. Their official designation was hematophagic immortals, a bloodline that had evolved beyond mortality through a symbiotic relationship with an ancient organism in their cells. But vampire was what everyone called them, and Valkyra embodied every myth and legend humanity had ever conceived. She wore black that seemed to absorb light, her silver hair cascading to her waist like a waterfall of starlight. As she ascended to her throne, a massive structure of carved bone and dark crystal, her eyes swept across the candidates. Each one she looked at stood straighter, desperate to be seen, to be chosen, to be the one who would share her immortal existence. I should have looked away. I was nobody, a human with no business even watching this ceremony. But something made me keep staring, professional hazard of an engineer, I suppose. I was analyzing the throne's structure, the way the light played off her skin, the biomechanical integration of her guard's armor. That's when her eyes found mine. The universe seemed to stop. Those deep space eyes locked onto me through the crowd, through the barrier, across the impossible distance between a queen and a laborer. I felt pinned, examined, dissected by a gaze that had witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations. Then she smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. It was the smile of a predator who just spotted something unexpected, something that broke the pattern. Her attention should have moved on. The ceremony had rules, protocols established over centuries, but Valkyra stood from her throne and the entire assembly fell silent. "Bring me that human," she said. Her voice carried effortlessly across the plaza, melodic and absolute. Around me, the crowd erupted in confusion. Hands grabbed at me, security, I assumed, but they weren't arresting me. They were escorting me forward. "Your Majesty, there must be some mistake," one of her advisors began, a tall Nisari male with ceremonial scars across his pale face. "The human was not among the selected candidates. They are not even permitted." "I am aware of the rules, Torvin," Valkyra interrupted, her eyes never leaving me. "I wrote most of them. Bring him to me." The procession parted as I was guided through. 72 candidates watched with expressions ranging from confusion to outrage. I couldn't blame them. I was wearing mining colony coveralls, still stained with machine oil. Next to them in their ceremonial finery, I looked like someone who'd wandered in from the maintenance shaft. I stopped at the base of her throne, unsure whether to bow or run. Up close, Valkyra was even more impossibly beautiful and far more terrifying. Her skin held a faint luminescence, and I could see the tracery of veins beneath its surface, pulsing with something that wasn't quite blood. "What is your name?" she asked. "Marcus Webb, Your Majesty, I'm really sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt." "You didn't interrupt, you caught my attention." She descended from her throne with fluid grace, circling me slowly. "Marcus Webb, human, tell me, what were you thinking about when you looked at me?" I swallowed hard. "Honestly, I was thinking your throne must weigh about 8,000 kilograms, and I was trying to figure out the structural engineering required to keep it from crashing through the palace floor." Silence. Then Valkyra laughed, a sound like crystal bells, beautiful and slightly unhinged. 3,000 years, she said, still circling, and no one has ever looked at my throne and worried about the floor beneath it. She stopped in front of me, close enough that I could feel the strange cold that emanated from her. "Every cycle, they bring me the galaxy's finest. Warriors who have conquered planets, scholars who have unlocked the secrets of dark matter, diplomats who have brokered peace between warring civilizations. And do you know what they all think about when they look at me? How to impress you, how to possess me, how to claim the power that comes with being my consort, how to use my favor for their own advancement." Her hand lifted, pale fingers tracing a line along my jaw. Her touch was ice cold, and I felt something primal in me recoil even as I forced myself to stand still. "But you looked at me and thought about infrastructure, about the mundane reality beneath the spectacle. Tell me, Marcus Webb, are you brave or simply foolish?" "Probably both, Your Majesty." She smiled again, and this time it reached her eyes. "The choosing has rules. Humans are forbidden because your blood is incompatible with my kind. It would make you ill, and it would do nothing to sustain me. You cannot be what I need. Then I should probably go back to—" "I haven't dismissed you." Her voice hardened. "I am the queen of the Nisari Empire. I have held this throne longer than your species has known agriculture. If I choose to break my own rules, who will stop me?" The entire assembly was watching now, the ceremony completely derailed. Her advisors looked horrified. The candidates looked furious. And I felt like a specimen on a slide being examined by a cosmic force I couldn't begin to understand. "Why me?" I asked quietly. "You could have anyone." "That's precisely the problem." Valkyra turned back to her throne, gesturing for me to follow. "I can have anyone, and I have had many. Consorts who lasted decades, centuries in some cases, all of them eventually boring me. all of them wanting something from me: power, immortality, prestige. None of them seeing me as anything but a means to an end. She sat, regarding me from her elevated position. But you didn't look at me with want. You looked at me with curiosity, professional curiosity, perhaps, but it was genuine. Do you know how rare that is? I'm an engineer, I said, finding my footing despite the absurdity. It's my job to look at how things work. Then look at me now and tell me what you see. I studied her carefully, trying to ignore the beauty that was clearly designed to attract and the danger that radiated from her like heat from a forge. Past the perfect features and the regal bearing, I looked for what was real. I see someone who's tired, I said finally. Someone who's lived so long that everything has become predictable. Someone who's bound by tradition even though she created it. Someone who's alone even when surrounded by thousands. The silence that followed felt like standing on the edge of a cliff. The human sees too much, Torvin said from behind me. Your Majesty, please reconsider. Leave us, Valkara commanded. All of you, the ceremony is concluded. But Your Majesty, you haven't chosen. I just did. The plaza erupted in chaos. Candidates protested, advisors argued, but Valkara's word was absolute. Within minutes, the assembly had been cleared, leaving just the two of us in the vast space. Her guards remained at a distance, dark silhouettes against the crimson sky. You understand what you've done to me? I asked, trying to process what was happening. I'm supposed to be a laborer. My contract with the mining company is void. You belong to the imperial household now. She descended from her throne again, approaching with that same predatory grace. Specifically, you belong to me. I can't be your consort. You said yourself my blood is incompatible, yes. Which means I cannot sustain myself from you. I would still need to feed from others, which rather defeats the traditional purpose of the bonding. She circled me again, considering. But perhaps that's not entirely a disadvantage. Every consort I've taken has eventually become a source of sustenance and nothing more. They become comfortable, complacent, seeing me only as their provider. But you could never be that. So what would I be? I don't know. For the first time, she sounded uncertain. I've existed for 3 millennia, Marcus Webb. I've seen empires rise and fall. I've witnessed your species emerge from your single planet and spread across the stars. I've forgotten more history than your entire civilization has recorded. And right now, in this moment, I genuinely don't know what happens next. Do you understand how extraordinary that is? I was beginning to. In a life that had become utterly predictable, I represented chaos, uncertainty, the unknown. I could refuse, I said, though I wasn't sure I meant it. You could, and I would let you go. I may be a queen and what your species calls a monster, but I don't take unwilling companions. She stopped directly in front of me. But I don't think you will refuse because I see something in you as well, Marcus Webb. What's that? You're as bored as I am. You're brilliant enough to have earned degrees from 3 of Earth's finest institutions, yet you're here in a mining colony, fixing atmospheric recyclers and calibrating gravity generators. You could have stayed on Earth, taken a position with any major engineering firm. But you chose the frontier, the edge of known space where things are unpredictable. She wasn't wrong. I'd left Earth precisely because everything felt too structured, too predictable, too small. So this is what, I asked, 2 bored people deciding to complicate each other's lives. Essentially, Valkara extended her hand. I offer you a position in my household, not as a consort in the traditional sense. We'll have to invent a new title. You'll have resources, access to the finest minds in the empire, freedom to pursue whatever interests you. In exchange, you keep me from dying of ennui. That's it. Keep you entertained. Challenge me. Question me. See me as something other than an immortal queen or a predatory legend. Be genuinely, infuriatingly human. Her smile was sharp. I suspect you'll be quite good at it. I looked at her hand, pale, perfect, cold as starlight. Beyond her I could see the spires of the palace, the vast empire she commanded, a life so far removed from mine that it seemed like fiction. And I thought about my cramped quarters in the mining colony, the endless shifts, the predictable routine of maintenance and repair. The safety of anonymity. I took her hand. Her fingers closed around mine and her smile widened. Excellent. Your first task will be reviewing the palace's environmental systems. I've had complaints about temperature fluctuations in the eastern wing for the past decade. You're putting me to work already? I told you I needed an engineer. Did you think I was joking? She started walking toward the palace, pulling me along. Come. We have much to discuss, including how to handle the 17 formal complaints I'll receive by morning about breaking protocol. Only 17? I'm being conservative. Torvin alone will file at least 5. She glanced back at me, her deep space eyes gleaming. Tell me, Marcus Webb, do you regret this yet? I thought about it honestly. Ask me in 100 years. Optimistic, I like that. She laughed, that crystal bell sound echoing across the empty plaza. Though I should warn you, being unchosen would have been far simpler. What you've agreed to is far stranger and more dangerous than any traditional bonding. Are you prepared for that? I looked up at the palace, at the alien sky, at the impossible woman who had just claimed me. No, I wasn't prepared. I had no idea what I was doing or what I'd just committed to. But for the first time in years, I felt truly alive. I'm an engineer, I said. I figure things out as I go. Then we're going to get along perfectly. Queen Valkyra pulled me through the palace doors into a future neither of us could predict. Welcome to eternity, Marcus Webb. Try not to make me regret this. As the doors closed behind us, I had a feeling that regret would be the least of our problems. But somehow, I was looking forward to every complication that lay ahead.